Chapter 21 Matchmaking. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Lin Yi never imagined Master Fu had such a poignant love story. If Qing'er could have waited for him, it would have been the stuff of legends. But life rarely works out perfectly. Then again, striving for the ideal can prevent a lot of heartache. Like in Cultivation, thinking through every potential problem before you start can save you a lot of pain later. Sharing his story had clearly lifted Lin Yi's spirits. Master Fu seemed lost in thought, so Lin Yi didn't interrupt. Sometimes, quiet reflection is the best medicine. Lin Yi waited patiently, hoping Master Fu would work through whatever he was feeling. Finally, Master Fu's eyes refocused. "Don't follow my example," he said. Lin Yi apologized. "I'm sorry for bringing up a painful memory, sect leader." Master Fu shook his head. "This has been bottled up for too long. If anything, I should thank you." He paused, then added, "That's why I think you should settle down before focusing on your career. That way, you'll have a home to come back to when you're tired of exploring the world." Lin Yi couldn't refuse outright again. "I'll definitely give it serious thought, sect leader." Seeing that Lin Yi was open to the idea, Master Fu pressed on. "Lin Yi, is there anyone special you have in mind?" Lin Yi was starting to feel cornered. Besides, marrying a mortal woman was out of the question. Still, he patiently replied, "Not at the moment." Master Fu said, "How about I play matchmaker for you?" Lin Yi felt a sudden urge to bolt. He was reaching his breaking point. "Sect leader, I appreciate the thought, but I'm really not looking for anything right now. If I decide to settle down, I'll definitely come to you for help." Seeing that Lin Yi was adamant, Master Fu backed off, not wanting to push too hard and ruin his chances of keeping him at Jukingman. "Then I'll just wait for good news." Lin Yi finally breathed a sigh of relief. "Thank you, Master." Knowing the sect leader had traveled extensively, Lin Yi saw an opportunity to gather information about the outside world, preparing for his own departure. "Sect leader, could you tell me about the world outside? It's good to be prepared, so you won't be caught off guard or get into trouble when you leave. I traveled east, then south, before returning here. I haven't left since, and probably never will again. We're in Hangzhou. It's the smallest and most barren state I've seen. Any sect from another state could easily wipe us out, but luckily, they don't even consider us a threat. This place is just too poor." Lin Yi agreed. The spiritual energy here was weak, and without it, the land couldn't produce anything valuable, creating a vicious cycle of poverty. The Qinyan Mountains make up most of Hangzhou and stretch for thousands of miles. They're also the richest part of the state. Over 10 sects, big and small, are located within those mountains. The three largest are our sect, Qingshuanmen, which is about 500 miles east of US, and Qingshanmen, about 300 miles north. You'll notice they all have Qing in their names. It's related to the Qinyan mountain range. The three major sects have always maintained a peaceful balance. There are occasional skirmishes, but we keep each other in check. Over the centuries, we've developed a tacit understanding. The smaller sects are all affiliated with us. We have 3 attached sects within 60 miles of us. The 3 major sects basically represent Hangzhou. They have branches throughout the state, recruiting promising disciples from all over to strengthen their ranks. If you head east and leave Hangzhou, you'll enter Hangzhou region, which is twice the size of Hangzhou. It's much wealthier and has a larger population of martial artists. The largest sect I know of there is the Juding sect, located in the Luoxia Mountains. The Luoxia Mountains are rich in resources, like high-quality ores for making better weapons and older, more potent herbs. You can also encounter some seriously dangerous beasts there. If you're not skilled enough, don't go alone, or you'll become their dinner. I joined the Juding sect as a disciple for a year and significantly improved my skills. I also learned that their techniques were more advanced than ours. After that, I continued my travels. Hangzhou is so vast that many areas remain unexplored, so I couldn't see everything before moving on. Traveling east from Hangzhou, through bustling towns and desolate mountains, and across fast-flowing rivers, I eventually arrived in Qingzhou. When you get there, you'll realize everything you've seen before is nothing. The population is massive, the towns are huge, each with hundreds of thousands of people, and the buildings are magnificent. Every home is beautiful and well-lit, and the food is incredible. It feels like you've entered paradise, and the warriors are incredibly strong. Chapter 22 Area. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Okay, so I picked a mid-tier sect. The top-level ones? Forget about it. The qualifications they demand are insane, you'd have a better shot climbing Everest in flip-flops. But hey, if you do manage to get in, the rewards are off the charts. You could learn more, faster, than anyone else. This sect was called the Shao clan. Founded way back by a guy named Shao, it started as a noble family and then morphed into a sect. Haven't heard much about them lately, though. No idea if they've moved up in the world anyway. I learned a ton about how sects are run, a solid structure, a clear system of rewards and punishments. Plus, I got to see some real martial arts masters in action. During my 2 years with the Shao clan, I climbed the ranks from regular disciple to elite. More importantly, I made a good friend, Chen Sheng. Stand-up guy, chivalrous, brave, righteous, the whole package, and a real natural when it came to martial arts. If you ever find yourself in Hangzhou and run into a problem you can't handle, look him up. I'm sure he'd help you out. For my sake, Lin Yi nodded, hanging on every word of sect leader Fu's story. He knew he was about to head out on his own, and every detail, every warning, was valuable. Sect leader Fu's words painted a picture of the dangers, and the possibilities, that awaited him. Sect leader Fu continued, explaining that after more than 2 years with the Shao clan, he hit the road again. He'd been gone over 5 years total by this point. Instead of continuing east, he headed south. His time with the Shao clan had taught him that there were even more powerful states further east, but he wasn't ready for that kind of challenge yet. The journey started smoothly. He talked about the different landscapes, climates, and fighting styles of the eastern region. But then, crossing through Hangzhou and entering the southern prefecture, he ran into his first bandits in the Qilian mountains. These guys were predators, preying on the weak, the lone travelers, and the wealthy folks coming from Hangzhou. They were burning, killing, and looting, and nobody, not the government, not the local sects, did a thing about it. The entire mountain range was infested, and they were running wild. Thousands of lives were lost every year. People were terrified to travel through there. But there weren't many other routes. So, if it was urgent, you had to shell out big bucks to hire security. Except the security companies were in on it too, working with the bandits to scam travelers. Turns out, it wasn't just the security companies. The government and some of the sects were involved, too. It was a whole corrupt system. Being green, I walked right into it. These bandits came in all sizes. Some gangs were huge, 1,000 strong, more powerful than many sections. Others were small, a few dozen, always on the move, no fixed base. Some were just impromptu teams of guys looking to rob and kill. That's the kind I ran into, a temporary team of guys from different sects, out for training. Usually, bandits wouldn't mess with sect disciples. There were 4 of them, and they were heading my way, all smiles, like they'd just spotted their next meal. They were dressed in a mix of clothes. 2 of them wore the same thing, so they were probably from the same sect. The other 2 were from different places. The 2 guys in matching clothes seemed kinda fancy. The one in front was young, well-built, and had good skin, but he had this entitled look about him, like a rich kid. He hung back. Behind him on the left was a dark, muscular, middle-aged guy. He was scanning the area, probably the young guy's bodyguard. The other 2 were a skinny, shifty-eyed guy and a guy with no real distinguishing features. Hey, yokel. What are you staring at? Why don't you drop to your knees and beg our young master for mercy? Hand over your valuables, become our slaves, and maybe we'll let you live. The skinny one said. The young guy gave him a half-smile. Chill-e, don't scare him. We're all good people here, right? We understand right from wrong. Do we look like that kind of guy? Chiu jumped. Young Master Xing is right. Then he turned back to me. See that? You just met our kind, honest young Master Xing. You should be thanking your lucky stars. Get down on your knees and show some gratitude. What do you want? I asked, trying to keep a straight face. Oh, now you're showing your true colors. Young Master Xing, you're too nice. This guy needs to learn a lesson. Young Master Xing raised his chin, looking down at me. We must use virtue to convince others. Don't be too harsh. We don't want to see any blood. Chiu grinned. Understood, young Master Xing. Alright, peasant, I'll give you one chance. Kneel, kowtow 3 times, and slap yourself 100 times, and we'll forgive your disrespect. Watching this poor excuse for a performance, I wanted to skip the small talk and kill them where they stood. I figured this was their usual routine. Chapter 23 Being humiliated instead. You are listening at novelfull.audio. They waited, hoping to see despair slowly dawn on Sect Master Fu's face. But after a while, he just stood there, still expressionless. They couldn't take it anymore. Mr. Chiu, face contorted with rage, cracked his knuckles and advanced on Sect Master Fu. Fu looked at him calmly and said, a lowlife like you, who only knows how to throw your weight around thanks to someone else's power. Are you sure you want to do this? Chiu's face turned even redder, veins bulging. Good, 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 he hissed, gritting his teeth. I told you not to get mouthy. Let's see how I shut that smart mouth of yours and make you wish you were never born. I'll make you wish you were dead. That hit a nerve. Chiu had been bullied his whole life, treated worse than dirt. Since becoming Mr. Xing's follower, he thought his luck had changed, that good times were finally ahead. Now, this nobody dared talk to him like that. He wanted to humiliate him, then kill him. I doubt you have the guts, Fu replied, and you'll only end up embarrassing yourself. A dog is always a dog. If you can't shake the habit of licking boots, then just be a good little dog. Chiu just wanted to smash his mouth, cut out his tongue, and slowly torture him to death. He threw a punch, aiming to shatter Fu's jaw. But just as he thought he would see the man crumple, Chiu's fist stopped, frozen in mid-air. A hand blocked his way. Sect Master Fu shook his head. I told you, if you want to be a dog, you have to know your place. I warned you not to make a fool of yourself. Chiu's face flushed. Let me go. I'm Mr. Xing's man. Elder Qin will make you regret this. You're not even worth getting my hands dirty. Sect Master Fu squeezed hard, and Chiu screamed. His palm was crushed. Then, Fu kicked him to the ground. Ignoring Chiu, Fu addressed Mr. Xing. If you have any other dogs you want to sick on me, send them now. Otherwise, I'm leaving. Mr. Xing still looked contemptuous. Don't think you're invincible just because you know a few cheap tricks. He paused. When you beat a dog, you answer to the owner. This mud is worthless, but you still can't touch him. Sect Master Fu stopped. So, you admit you're a dog owner? Elder Qin stepped forward, his face twisted. Insulting the young master is a death wish. He drew a blood-stained axe, fresh drops dripped from the blade. He swung it at Sect Master Fu. Fu couldn't afford to be careless. Elder Qin was strong. He drew his soft sword and parried the attack. The axe whistled through the air. Fallen leaves swirled in the wind. Think you're hot stuff because you learned a few basic moves. Today, you die here. Old dog, stop barking. Let's see what you've got, Sect Leader Fu retorted. Fine, you piece of trash. I'll show you real martial arts. Elder Qin aimed for Fu's waist, intending to cleave him in two with a single blow. He didn't want to waste time on an ant like this, but to Elder Qin's surprise, Sect Master Fu advanced instead of retreating, using his soft sword to deflect the axe. That nobody thinks he can stop an axe with a broken sword. He's got another thing coming. Elder Qin sneered, weapons met with a deafening roar, sending dust and sparks flying, the soft sword wrapped around the axe, cleverly redirecting the force and sending it off course. It missed Sect Master Fu by a hair. Elder Qin stumbled, and Sect Master Fu realized how close he had come. Even Mr. Xing was surprised. The guy has some moves after all. I know how strong Elder Qin is. This might be more interesting than I thought. Chapter 24 Battle against Elder Qin. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Elder Qin was floored. Even though he hadn't gone all out and might have been a little cocky, this nobody shouldn't have been able to withstand his attack. Now, Elder Qin wanted to savor the moment, not just hack Sect Master Fu to pieces right away. He wanted to break him down, make him beg for mercy. Didn't expect you had some half-baked skills. Old geezer, you can't even beat my half-baked skills. If I were you, I'd just give up. Elder Qin wasn't bothered. No point getting worked up over trash like this. The fun was coming. He raised his axe again, putting another 10% into it. The air crackled, and fallen leaves swirled back up. The axe sliced through the sky, aimed right at Sect Leader Fu. Seeing the force of the blow, Sect Master Fu flinched and stumbled back. He brought up his soft sword, trying to deflect the attack. When the axe met the sword, the impact kicked up a cloud of dust, briefly obscuring the fight. He hoped his soft sword could hold, but the second they connected, Sect Leader Fu felt a jolt. Even though the sword had absorbed a lot of the force, the axe still slammed into him. Sect Leader Fu retreated, barely dodging the full force of the blow. Even so, the remaining power surged through the sword, leaving his hand shaking and numb. He gripped the soft sword tighter, tasting blood in his mouth. He wiped his mouth, his face grim. Elder Qin, pleased with the result, sneered, well. Not so tough now, are you? Beginning to understand your place, huh? Old dog, don't get cocky. You just had a few more years to train. After all those years you only dare pick on someone weaker. Sounds like a loyal lapdog to me. Sect Leader Fu tried to get under his skin with words. Otherwise, he'd be in real trouble. Elder Qin chuckled, keep talking. I'm gonna make you wish you were dead. He swung his axe again, giving Sect Master Fu no room to breathe, slowly crushing him. Sect Leader Fu braced himself. Seeing the axe swing, he met the blow with his soft sword. The result was still rough, but slightly better than before. They traded blows, or rather, Elder Qin attacked while Sect Leader Fu desperately defended. It looked bad, but with each exchange, Sect Master Fu gained experience. Facing a stronger opponent was a rare opportunity. Sure, it was risky, but no martial artist got strong without facing danger. This was how you develop true strength, unshakable resolve, resilience, and sharp skills. From awkward blocks, he managed a shaky stalemate. He sensed he could turn the tables if he had more time. He was getting it. Sect Master Fu was starting to read Elder Qin's moves, anticipating him better. His own skills sharpened. Elder Qin saw the change. He dropped the act and put 90% of his strength into the next blow. He wanted to finish this fast. He hadn't expected the kid to adapt so quickly in the thick of things, but Sect Master Fu, having learned Elder Qin's patterns and feeling his own growth, had no intention of letting that happen. Despite his battered state, he felt a thrill. This kind of opportunity was rare. He'd use this to improve, treating Elder Qin as a training partner. If Elder Qin knew what Sect Leader Fu was thinking, he'd explode. Destined to die, and now he was helping his opponent grow stronger. The battle continued, and Sect Leader Fu's technique improved. Elder Qin's attacks no longer threatened him. Mr. Xing, watching from the sidelines, sensed a shift. Why is this guy getting stronger after taking a beating, he thought. He even looks excited, a hint of confidence in his eyes. Mr. Xing grew anxious, fearing things were taking too long. He called out, Elder Qin, quit playing around and finish him. Elder Qin was close to panicking but had no way to admit it. He was finding it tough to kill Sect Master Fu. He knew he'd made a mistake. He never expected to meet someone like this. He'd played himself. What's wrong, old dog? Your master telling you to hurry up and kill me? Are you disobeying your master? Turns out you're a rebellious mutt. Sect leader Fu taunted. Elder Qin's face turned red, but he was speechless. Sect leader Fu continued, didn't you say you were going to make me despair and experience a fate worse than death? What's taking so long? I'm waiting. Elder Qin spat blood. The words were a punch to the gut. Mr. Xing, increasingly frantic, urged, Elder Qin, hurry. Kill him now. Chapter 25 Beheading. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Elder Qin's face was twisted with rage, his eyes blazing with a manic light, like a wild beast ready to tear apart anything in its path. You little punk, you forced my hand. He was about to unleash his ultimate move, something he'd been reluctant to use. Each time he used it, he aged significantly and his skills diminished. He never imagined he'd have to use it on someone he could have crushed with ease. Hey, old-timer, hurry it up. I'm getting bored waiting. Even as he taunted, Fu knew Qin was about to pull something nasty out of his hat. Is Elder Qin really going to use it? Xing wondered. Then Elder Qin raised his axe high, the blade glinting in the sun. An immense pressure rolled off him, shaking the very ground. Trees trembled, leaves rained down, some even disintegrating. Go to hell, you little bastard. Axe, the creation of worlds. When the axe fell, it carried the force of Genesis. Leaves and dust parted, creating a path for the onslaught. It was like nothing could stand in its way. The instant Qin unleashed his power, Fu felt a chilling premonition. What kind of technique is this? He wondered, his mind reeling. How can it hold such power? That he didn't even think, he just ran. He used a footwork he'd learned in the Shao clan, a close-quarters maneuver called the crowd step, designed for instant escape. He'd only mastered it partially, but in this desperate situation, he pushed it to its limit. It still wasn't enough. The axe was faster, closing in, promising certain death. Despair began to creep in. Is this it? So many dreams still unrealized, Qing waiting for his return. In that life-or-death moment, Fu's speed somehow surged past its previous limit, barely dodging the blow. Even so, the force of the axe tore at his left arm. He'd need time to recover from that. The axe missed its target, but carved a swathe of destruction through the trees, leaving a deep fissure in the ground. A cloud of dust billowed into the sky. Fu saw Qin's body rapidly weakening after the strike, visibly aging. The aftereffects were kicking in. Fu wasn't about to give him another chance. Using the perfected crowd step, he moved so fast he left only an afterimage. Qin tried to react, but he was too slow. The soft sword pierced his heart. Qin's eyes locked onto Fu, disbelief warring with rage. He had not only survived but also risked his own life. With a look of utter defeat, he collapsed. Fu sighed in relief. That had been a close one. A real brush with death. If he hadn't broken through with the crowd step, he'd be the one lying dead on the ground. Turning to Xing, he saw the other young man frozen in place. Qiu Yi, still whimpering, had even forgotten his pain. Xing hadn't expected Qin, even with his secret technique, to be killed so easily. The situation had turned on a dime, leaving him bewildered. Now, seeing Fu looking at him, he panicked, his earlier composure vanishing. Qiu Yi, you dog, get up and kill this nobody for me. Xing screamed at Qiu Yi, all pretense of youthful arrogance gone, but Qiu Yi didn't dare to utter a word. Despite the agony in his hand, he clenched his teeth, afraid to make a sound, and lay motionless like a piece of trash. Xing glared at the useless Qiu Yi, wanting nothing more than to kill him. He turned to the other young man. Bao Ying, you've been watching long enough. Are you going to do something? Bao Ying looked at Fu, then at Xing. Young Master Xing, I have no quarrel with him. This has always been your fight, and besides, I'm out of my depth here. Xing's jaw tightened. Bao Ying, well done. Well done indeed. Fu hadn't expected Bao Ying's response, but it only made him more cautious, watching his every move as he slowly advanced on Xing. Seeing the fear in Xing's eyes, he said, what happened to your composure? Your arrogance. Xing was panicking. He was weak to begin with, just a spoiled brat used to throwing his weight around, always protected. What do you want? He stammered. You can't touch me. I'm the youngest son of the Xuanzong leader in Dizhou, a top sect. If you lay a hand on me, my father will hunt you to the ends of the earth. Fu was taken aback. He hadn't known Xing was so well connected. Killing him would mean facing a top sect, making escape virtually impossible. But he was also unwilling to let him off so easily, especially since this guy had just tried to kill him. Seeing Fu hesitate, Xing pressed his advantage. I advise you to think this through. Let me go, and I won't pursue this any further. Fu kept walking towards Xing. Xing watched Fu approach, incredulous that he would defy him. You think I'm just going to let you walk away? Xing's voice trembled. What do you want? Fu gave him a chilling half-smile. Hand over all your money, kowtow 10 times, and we'll call it even. Chapter 26 Being Chased. You are listening at novelfull.audio. This guy's got guts of steel. Xing is the untouchable king of the state, so who does this guy think he is, ordering him to kneel? What kind of bad luck did I just stumble into? Count me out of this. Qiu Yi was internally panicking, muttering a prayer under his breath. Bowing was speechless, staring blankly at sect leader Fu, totally caught off guard. If word gets out about Mr. Hu Hoyong, the big shot, he'll be forever disgraced, unable to show his face again. Even his doting father might disown him. Xing was furious. Don't push it. I might be willing to kneel, but you wouldn't be able to handle the consequences. Now it was sect leader Fu's turn to smirk. It's not about whether I can handle it. You have to kneel, or else. He raised his soft sword, pointing it at Xing. Seeing the sword coming, young Master Xing's legs turned to jelly. He dropped to his knees in front of sect leader Fu with a thud, begging, please don't kill me. I'll kowtow. Take all the money, it's yours. Disgusted by this display of cowardice, sect leader Fu said, I'll spare you this time. But if I ever see you again. Xing stammered, yes, yes. I'll go straight from now on, no more evil. I'll run the other way if I ever spot you coming. Sect leader Fu turned to leave, missing the murderous glint in Xing's eyes. Xing was holding a small box, his finger poised over a button. Die. Sect leader Fu cursed inwardly. Damn it, he threw himself out of the way, but a poison needle still pierced his left arm. He couldn't believe it, he'd just let the guy go, and now he was getting ambushed. What a snake! Seeing that his attack hadn't been instantly lethal, Xing knew he was in trouble and went to threaten him. Sect leader Fu glared. You asked for it. His soft sword flashed out and pierced Xing's throat. Xing's eyes widened in disbelief. Why hadn't he just waited for reinforcements? He crumpled to the ground, a picture of regret. The other 2 guys were stunned, staring at sect leader Fu in disbelief. He actually killed Xing. Sect leader Fu looked at Baoing, seeing the look in sect leader Fu's eyes, Baoing said quickly, dude, I never wanted any trouble with you. It was those 3 guys who were after you. And I swear, I won't breathe a word about any of this. May lightning strike me dead if I do. Sect leader Fu hesitated. The guy wasn't exactly a saint, but he hadn't attacked him today. He wasn't a cold-blooded killer, so he decided to let it go. Better watch your back. Hearing those words, Baoing breathed a sigh of relief. He'd dodged a bullet. You bet. Sect leader Fu glanced at the poison needle in his arm. Time to deal with this. He turned and walked away, kicking the axe on the ground as he went. It spun through the air and struck Qiu Yi in the head, killing him instantly. He hadn't expected that one moment of leniency to come back and bite him like that. Baoing immediately ratted out sect leader Fu in exchange for a huge reward. During the manhunt, sect leader Fu couldn't risk going back to Hangzhou. It would be a death trap. He had to hide out in Tizhou, and while he was there, he took care of Baoing. Eventually, he shook off his pursuers and made it back to Hangzhou. sect leader Fu let out a long breath. It felt like it all happened yesterday, the desperate fight for survival, the hope, the despair, the unwavering faith that kept him moving forward. That's the area I've been to. I hope it helps. Lin Yi snapped back to reality, still reeling from the story. It was more incredible and thrilling than anything he'd ever experienced at Yaofeng. He made a mental note, never hesitate to eliminate a threat. What's true for ordinary people is even more true in the world of believers. Sect leader, this is a huge help. It gives me a much better idea of what's out there. I never imagined you'd been through so much, Lin Yi said. If you ever go out there, remember to nip any potential threat in the bud. Otherwise, they'll come back to haunt you, and you might pay with your life. Thank you for the warning, Master. I'll keep it in mind, Lin Yi said gratefully. He hadn't known sect leader Fu for long, but the man had shared these stories without holding back. Lin Yi was truly grateful. After chatting for a while longer, Lin Yi prepared to leave. As he said goodbye, sect leader Fu took out a book and handed it to Lin Yi. This is the secret technique of Zongzibu. It might just save your life out there. Lin Yi took the book. Sect leader, I don't deserve this. Sect leader Fu said, Lin Yi, you're the hope of the sect. You're a talented young pharmacist. Of course, the sect will protect you. This gift is from me, but it also represents the sect. After thanking him again, Lin Yi left Qingxiang Pavilion. Sect leader Fu knocked on the girl's door, but there was no answer. He pushed it open to find the room empty. He had no idea where she'd gone. Chapter 27 Book Pavilion. You are listening at novelfull.audio. When I got to the third floor of Qingxiang Pavilion, I saw a young woman standing by the window. She smiled at a middle-aged man. Dad, the man, sect master Fu, looked at her with affection. Tingner, I didn't even see you there. Her face flushed. Dad, I think he spotted me through the crack, so I stepped back. Sect master Fu frowned. Tingner, that's impossible. The gap is too small. You're imagining things. She quickly insisted, No, Dad, I'm serious. He really saw me and even winked. He smiled at his worried daughter. Tingner, what a coincidence you two met. What do you think of Lin Yi? Her face turned redder. Dad! What are you saying? I don't know what you mean. Tingner, he said earnestly, you're old enough to marry. You need to grab your happiness. If you like him, don't miss out. After meeting Lin Yi, I thought he was a good man. I'd feel relieved handing you over to him. Dad, stop. I'm still young. I want to stay with you forever and ignore you. She ran off, her heart pounding. Fu watched her go, lost in thought. Tingner has finally found someone she loves. I hope she'll always be happy and never suffer. Don't worry, I won't let it happen. After Lin Yi left, he went straight to the bookstore, hoping to find something useful. He stood at the entrance, remembering it had been years since he'd been here. He thought of senior brother Lu and how much he wanted to thank him. Without Lu's help, he wouldn't be where he was today. He taught me to read and write and how to identify herbs, which laid a foundation for everything. It's been over a decade since I learned to read. Time flies. He sighed at the door and stepped inside. He wanted to find books to improve his reading skills. He didn't pay much attention to the bookstore's layout. It was pretty basic, which made sense for a sect only a few hundred years old. The book collection was divided into a technique section, a biography section, and a miscellaneous section. Lin Yi first went to the technique area. They were all common skills: swordplay, knife techniques, staff fighting, the works. Sect disciples could borrow them freely. If this was all the sect had to offer, it couldn't be one of Hangzhou's top 3. The real skills must be reserved for the inner circle. He shook his head. Since becoming a cultivator, he hadn't bothered with mortal techniques. They were useless to him. He longed to find the cultivation world soon to improve his skills and talk to other cultivators. He skipped the technique area and headed to the biography section. He saw it was a memorial to the sect's ancestors. Their life stories were recorded to inspire future generations with a sense of identity and belonging and help Juching sect reach even greater heights. Many of the biographies were written by the subjects themselves or by later generations. They covered their experiences, their understanding of techniques, their longevity, their views on life, and their suggestions for the sect. Lin Yi was interested. He lacked experience and worldly wisdom. These were the thoughts and actions of the sect's ancestors. This valuable spiritual wealth would help him avoid many mistakes. Some ancestors had even traveled to other regions, some mentioning it briefly, others in more detail. Lin Yi picked up the biography of the second leader of the Juching sect. It had information he urgently needed. He planned to take it back to Yao Feng to study it. Finally, he reached the miscellaneous notes area. The books here were a mixed bag: weapon introductions, basic herb guides, and common martial arts injuries. Lin Yi grabbed a book on weapons, mostly about swords but also knives, staffs, spears, halberds, and so on. Lin Yi still didn't have a weapon of his own. He wondered what kind he should choose. He seemed to have a soft spot for swords, maybe a short sword, easy to carry. Not for self-defense, mortal weapons aren't a threat anymore. Just for special situations, like cutting meat when I'm grilling or fighting beasts. It needs to be sharp, Chapter 28 Weapons Pavilion. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Lin Yi arrived at the weapons pavilion to pick out a weapon. It was his first time there. The pavilion was located on Chi Peak, near a small volcano used for refining weapons made of special materials, requiring the volcano's high temperatures for the melting process. The weapons pavilion could forge weapons to order, but you could also choose from their existing stock. Lin Yi walked inside. Dozens of disciples milled about inside. Some waited in line, likely wanting custom-made weapons. Others consulted about and purchased ready-made items. An old man sat dozing, eyes closed. Senior brother Lu Feng, what do you think of this sword? One disciple asked. Lu Feng took the blade and examined it closely. After a moment, he said, the main material is Qinyan iron. The quality of this iron is above average, so the material itself is solid. He paused, then continued, judging by the forging marks, this sword was likely made by Elder Ling Shen. He's forged weapons for many disciples, and they've always been well received. This sword looks like it's been owned before, but the blade is still intact, so the quality is definitely there. The size is good, weighs about 20 pounds, and fits your hand nicely. As a swordsman, it's a good weapon to carry. The disciple's face lit up with excitement. He already loved the blade and couldn't put it down. He quickly thanked Lu Feng. Thanks, senior brother Lu. You're a true master appraiser in the weapons pavilion. Lu Feng shook his head. I wouldn't call myself a master. I've just been here a while and seen more weapons than you. Another disciple immediately sought Lu Feng's advice. Suddenly, a voice cut through the noise. Hey! Isn't that senior brother Lin Yi? All heads turned. It is. It's been a couple of years. He's changed so much, gotten even better looking. Being a master of medicine really agrees with him. I can't miss this opportunity to buy some elixirs and pills from him. I bet he's gotten even better at making them over the last 2 years. Several disciples rushed toward Lin Yi. Hello, senior brother Lin. Hey, Lin Yi. Lin Yi nodded and smiled. Got a minute, senior brother Lin? Any pills for sale? How've you been, Lin Yi? What's your secret? Did you take your own medicine? I don't care so much about myself, but I want to get something for my fiancée. Two female disciples chimed in. Me too. Questions piled up, and the already noisy armory pavilion became a chaotic mess. Lin Yi hadn't expected this. Getting caught up in this now would waste a ton of time. Besides, this was Chi Peak, it wasn't a marketplace. He didn't want to cause trouble with the Chi Peak people, Lin Yi thought quickly. Guys, this is Chi Peak, it's not really the place. If you need something, come to the trading area in Fengshi later today, and I'll take care of you there. Sound good? That his words disappointed some of the more eager disciples, but they understood, especially since they were on Chi Peak. I'll head to Fengshi to wait for you now. Hurry. Me too. The old man, who had been dozing, suddenly opened his eyes, glanced at Lin Yi, then closed them again and went back to sleep. The disciples gradually dispersed, and Lu Feng approached Lin Yi. Hey Lin, I'm Lu Feng, from the Weapon Pavilion. If you need anything, just ask. I'll do my best to help. Lin Yi had a good impression of Lu Feng. Thanks, brother Lu. I appreciate it. No problem, we're all brothers. Looking for something specific, or do you want something forged? Lin Yi said, I'd like to look around first. If I see something I like, I'll take it. Otherwise, I'll get something made. Lu Feng nodded. Good idea. What kind of weapon are you thinking of? That'll narrow things down. A short sword. Lin Yi said simply. Lu Feng saw that Lin Yi seemed to have a definite goal. This way, please. Lin Yi followed Lu Feng to the sword display area. Various swords hung there, bronze, iron, copper, wooden. Daggers were displayed in wooden cases. Lu Feng took out a dagger with a greenish-yellow blade. He handed it to Lin Yi. This is the crane sword. It's forged from crane copper, unique to the Qinyan Mountains. It's 70 years old, extremely sharp, and a great choice. Lin Yi handled the dagger. It was a nice blade, but it didn't really grab him. He didn't feel any connection to it. Lin Yi shook his head. It's a great sword, but it's not for me. Maybe it's just not meant to be. Lu Feng smiled. That reminds me, people choose swords, but swords choose people too. Chapter 29 Second and Third Floors. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Lu Feng put the sword back and grabbed another, about a foot long, handing it to Lin Yi. This one's called the gentleman's sword. A master craftsman forged it 100 years ago for a chivalrous knight. After a long and winding journey, it eventually returned to the sect and has been kept in storage ever since. Lin Yi took the sword, feeling its weight in his hand. It was a fine piece of craftsmanship, but still not right for him. For one, he wasn't a gentleman, nor did he aspire to be one. Best to leave it for someone who did. Lin Yi shook his head and returned the sword to Lu Feng without explanation. Lu Feng, surprised that Lin Yi didn't even like the gentleman's sword, almost asked why, but seeing Lin Yi's shake of the head, he held his tongue. Next came a series of daggers, none of which met Lin Yi's needs. Lu Feng was at a loss. It seemed he would have to commission one, and he considered introducing Lin Yi to the blacksmith. With a wry smile, Lu Feng said, looks like none of these are meant for you, Lin Yi. Guess you'll have to tell the blacksmith what you're after. Lin Yi understood Lu Feng's frustration. Ever since he'd become a monk, weapons rarely suited him. Choosing one at random would be irresponsible to both the weapon and himself. Is this it, senior brother? Are these all the daggers you have? Lin Yi asked, hesitant, knowing that even a blacksmith might not be able to fulfill his requirements. Lu Feng replied, not at all. This is just the first floor of the armory. There are second and third floors, where the best weapons are displayed, especially the third. But I can't go up there. Lin Yi's eyes lit up. What does it take to get onto the second and third floors? Lu Feng felt Lin Yi had little chance of accessing those floors, but he patiently explained, recognition for contributions to the sect offers one avenue. Secondly, the sect sometimes issues assignments. Completing them can also grant access. Finally, the sect leader has the authority to grant a disciple entry, but this is incredibly rare. He only gets to do it once. Lin Yi knew the first option was out, the second might not come around for years, and the third depended on him asking the sect leader, but how could he? What if the sect leader agreed, and he still couldn't find a weapon? Besides, he'd only met the sect leader once. The man had generously shared his knowledge and even given him a secret manual. To then ask for a privilege, especially the sect leader's only one. What if he'd already used it? Lin Yi stood there, indecisive, his thoughts churning. Lost in thought, he was startled by a voice. "Come with me." Snapping back to reality, Lin Yi realized he'd been so engrossed he hadn't noticed anyone approaching. Lu Feng was gone. He bowed respectfully to the old man with closed eyes. "Disciple Lin Yi pays respects to the elder," that the old man grunted. "Call me Old Wang." "Old Wang." Old Wang nodded. "Follow me." Lin Yi didn't know what Old Wang wanted, but he quickly complied. He soon realized they were heading to the second-floor entrance. Could the old man be taking him up there? But wasn't that the sect leader's sole privilege? Questions swirling, he reached the entrance. "Up there, you can also access the third floor. But remember, you can only choose one weapon. Bring it to me for registration afterward." Lin Yi wanted to ask why, but Old Wang had already turned and left. Puzzled, Lin Yi ascended to the second floor. The space was smaller than the first, holding only about 70 weapons. Lin Yi took his time, knowing he couldn't afford to miss anything that might be right for him. He began carefully examining each weapon. The weapons here were indeed a cut above those on the first floor, made of superior materials with exquisite craftsmanship. Each also bore a description, noting they were made by renowned masters. Before becoming a monk, Lin Yi would have coveted every single one, but now, he soon arrived at the sword section, where 3 daggers hung. Lin Yi picked up one, noting its exceptional sharpness. According to the description, it was called the cliff sword, recovered from a cliffside. Over 200 years old, it had tasted the blood of countless people and belonged to 2 previous owners. The sword was undoubtedly good, far better than those on the first floor, but still didn't meet Lin Yi's expectations. Shaking his head, he regretfully put it back and picked up the second. This dagger was crystal clear, forged by a master swordsmith. It used precious magnetic iron infused with a trace of yanite, making it even higher quality. The swordsmith had uniquely crafted a sword with these materials. Lin Yi held the magnetic sword, feeling a twinge of interest. It was just a shame the sword was slightly damaged. Still, if he didn't find anything better, he'd choose this one. Rather than let an old thought slip by, he hung it back up and looked at the remaining dagger. Chapter 30 The Origin of the Dagger. You are listening at novelfull.audio. I grabbed the third sword. It was a plain, silvery white sword, similar to the second one, so it didn't immediately grab my attention. Meanwhile, Lin Yi was eyeing the third floor, planning to check out the weapons up there before settling on his choice. Being the highest level, he figured it probably held the best gear. He headed upstairs. The staircase wasn't long, and soon the weapons room on the third floor was in sight. It was smaller than the one on the second floor and held far fewer weapons, only 13 in total, leaving the space feeling pretty empty. Lin Yi started examining each weapon closely. The first one he picked up was a gun. The body was a bit beat up, with marks from other weapons. The quality was decent, but nothing top of the line for this weapon's pavilion. Several guns on the second floor were better, both in materials and craftsmanship. Doubtful, he moved on to the next weapon. This time, a halberd stood before him. Even before touching it, he could feel its intense coldness, unlike anything he'd sensed from the other weapons. Picking up the halberd felt like holding the sun and moon. It was a masterpiece, crafted mainly from the finest rock gold. Any martial artist who loved the Fang Tian halberd would adore this. Even though he didn't use it himself, he could still appreciate its beauty. After a long look, Lin Yi reluctantly moved on. As he continued his search, he noticed an explanation, and realized why the weapons on the third floor weren't necessarily the best, but why they were displayed here. The weapons here belonged to figures who had made significant contributions to the sect throughout its history. Even if their weapons weren't the greatest, they'd used them to save the sect and establish its foundation, leading it to become one of the most powerful in Hangzhou. For a member of the sect, acquiring such a weapon wouldn't just boost their strength but would also bring honor, pride, and a sense of legacy. 2 daggers caught Lin Yi's eye. He was particularly drawn to one, which wasn't the flashiest weapon there and certainly not as showy as the gem-encrusted dagger next to it. But something about it felt special. It lacked any extra decoration, but the subtle lines on the blade hinted at its extraordinary nature. Lin Yi couldn't resist holding it. He couldn't identify the material, but he was sure it was exceptional. The more he looked at the dagger, the more he liked it, becoming completely captivated. Just as he was about to put it down, the sword suddenly trembled, emitting a surge of spiritual energy. Lin Yi's heart raced. This dagger was truly something special. Maybe it held other secrets. He tried to trigger the reaction again, but couldn't. Lin Yi made his decision. He would choose this sword. He lost interest in the other weapons and hurried downstairs to claim it. When he reached Mr. Wang, he saw the man still with his eyes closed. As if sensing his approach, Mr. Wang opened his eyes slightly, saw the dagger in Lin Yi's hand, and looked surprised. "Mr. Wang, I've made my choice," Lin Yi said, handing the dagger to Mr. Wang. Mr. Wang took the dagger and asked, "Are you sure about this?" "No regrets." Lin Yi's eyes were firm. "Mr. Wang, I won't regret choosing this sword." Mr. Wang, seeing Lin Yi's determination, asked, "Do you know the story behind this sword?" Lin Yi shook his head. "I don't, Mr. Wang. But the moment I picked it up, I knew I had to choose it. Maybe it's meant for me. I was hoping you could tell me more." Mr. Wang gazed at the dagger, lost in thought. This sword was brought back by the founder during his travels abroad. However, he was gravely injured on his return, leading to his early death. And the reason for his injury was this very sword. The founder and a few others discovered a tomb. Driven by curiosity, they decided to explore it. Before entering, they agreed that whoever found a treasure first would keep it, to avoid any infighting. The tomb was incredibly dangerous, with many pitfalls. Despite the risks, they found numerous treasures, though none were particularly valuable. But soon, the founder came across this dagger. It was the only weapon in the tomb, and based on its placement, the owner of the tomb clearly valued it highly, suggesting it was something special. The others hadn't found much. Seeing the founder with the sword, they forgot their agreement and demanded he hand it over. The founder refused, and a fierce battle erupted. He risked his life and was seriously wounded, but he managed to escape their ambush and return to the sect. The founder never understood the dagger before he died. Still, he had no regrets, saying perhaps he simply lacked the destiny to wield it. After his death, it was placed on the third floor of the weapons pavilion for someone worthy in the sect to find.